This was one of our most ambitious collaborations with a client. The client actually lives in Saudi and he always wanted to build a house where his ancestral roots were, which is Mangalore, a small coastal town in Karnataka. He always wanted to look at a project which he could come back to, a home which would evoke a lot of memories for him. Hi, I'm Akshay Herenjal from the Purpling Studio. Today I'm going to talk about the brick house in Mangalore. Before I start, you can actually watch a detailed walkthrough and download a PDF of all the drawings, layouts, discussions, etc. from buildofy.com. The link is in the description below. So when you look at the positioning of the site and you realize there are a lot of things that are around, you have a huge apartment, a lot of homes, a smaller apartment here, a villa on the side, etc. And then you come into a site which has a road onto the front. And then there's a smaller road that's actually going down this way. You have the site which is on this way, and this is where the north is. You got roads on two sides and a lot of densely built areas onto the other side, including this position, which essentially meant that when you look at the build form, we were expected to look at a building after, of course, leaving whatever setbacks that were required. This becomes the lower level, and when you sort of lift it up, you get a scenario like this where you have a lower ground and the rest of the units actually start getting staggering up. Just to quickly run you all through the plan, the whole building is done onto 4 levels. So this is the ground floor plan. There's an access from here and from here. So when you reach this point, you have two possibilities. One is to walk like this onto the main axis, or walk down into the majlis area from here. This is where a lot of play of the concrete fins happen. This becomes the first entry point. The whole house is built around this idea of one central stairway, which starts getting extremely sculptural when you start walking in. The living that actually looks into this space, which is again a wide, the dining opening onto this side, a single court which opens all the way to the top, one bedroom here, again opening outside, a dresser and a bathroom, and the two kitchens that are connected to each other, taking you outside onto the utility. So essentially, if this is the lower ground where you have the majlis, etc., and the upper level starts coming in, we created a series of voids. These voids would allow you to start connecting internally, so the house almost starts becoming more sectional. Rather than looking outwards, it starts looking inwards, where you can start opening to the sky into multiple areas, and then there are places which open up to a double height. When you look at the lower ground plan, this becomes a car park. There's a lift on this side, which is one part that is consistent. Then you have a small staircase area that goes all the way to the top. Then you have this portion which opens up into the living space on the upper level. And then there are units like these, which are actually tucking itself in, which we call a majlis, which is essentially a lounge or a place which is accessed from the outside. So this allows you to have complete privacy in case you have a couple of guests coming in, or when you have a lot of friends coming over. Now what happens is the rest of the spaces are divided into two zones. One is this zone, which is basically the private spaces where the two bedrooms are in this way. and the rest of the space, which is almost like a common area, which is where you have two very important spaces. One is this area, which is the family living or the family room, where the two users from these two bedrooms can use this as a common space. And there's a beautiful prayer area here. One of the things that was essential in the whole working of this project was to understand how do you respond to the outside. Is there a way we can connect, disconnect, break away sometimes, or find a way to screen yourself where required? And this one space that opens up, which you later see in the way the elevation reacts to it, couple of smaller store areas, etc., tucked in. And when you walk onto the other side, this becomes an important part which connects you to the other levels. This was a very strong thought process that we had right from the beginning, because when you know you're not able to connect on the outer side, you have to start finding ways to respond to multiple levels. Each of these two rooms that you have are almost similar in terms of the requirements that they came up with. But you have a small balcony or a deck area that's tucked in on one side, and onto the other side a small pocket balcony. When you come onto the second floor, the whole aspect of life changes. The consistency that you saw in this space remains. There's another level of opening that happens here, which is actually connecting you to the upper level from here. This is the main entrance volume, which you see right in the beginning of the house. The staircase void, and then it leaves you with two important spaces. One which is the master bedroom on this side, and one more bedroom which is on the other side. This is actually facing the road. Then you reach the final level, the terrace. This is the most functional space where you have a lot of services being planned, and also a place where you can entertain a lot of guests. We were very keen to understand that this becomes the most important space for the light, where it can start percolating down. So the first thing that you have was the spaces where the light comes down directly, because this is a space where you have beautiful skylights opening upwards, which is the three courts that you have. One which shows you, takes you into the master lounge, which is on this side. Then this is the main court that goes all the way to the lowest level. This is the entrance court, which you see when you enter the house, and the staircase that goes all the way down. And the top level actually tells you the way the house is planned. It's actually broken down into multiple courts, some of them going all the way down like these, and then the others which are actually going down onto the next level. Now the planning was done in a way where this entire portion had all the services tucked in, which had the laundry room, the HVAC, one set of powder room as well for people to use, etc. And the front is a portion which actually becomes a beautiful terrace, semi-covered in a sense where you can actually look onto the outside. Then you come on to the roof. We had to be very meticulous in the overall planning of the roof. We did not want a Mangaluru tiled roof, which is typically seen, because we also wanted to challenge the way the roof holds together and the kind of color play that happens. We wanted a different take on it. Instead of doing a roof which would typically slope this way in terms of a section, we started playing around with it in a way where it starts getting fragmented. But rather than doing just this, what we did is we opened it up into a very different format, where the roof comes down all the way onto the terrace level, and a part of the roof starts floating up here. This is part of the roof which is held together, opening up slightly into the terrace, which you see in this portion, allowing you to view on the outside. And then the rest of the roof has the series of skylights, which is what gets the light into the whole space onto the lower levels. This is the floating roof, and then the back portions, which is basically holding the bedrooms together. The kind of passion that goes behind that whole process is making it important to see the whole journey throughout the whole process, because we actually met the client when he saw one of our videos. In fact, it was through Buildofy, and then he came to us, and honestly at that point of time we were actually not in that phase of time where we were doing homes. There was a lot of mid and large scale projects that we were working on, but these are moments that tells you that there was this whole idea of collaboration, or the coming together was meant to be for some reason. So I think this project allowed us to explore everything to a possibility where we pushed all the limits with materiality, with the kind of storytelling that we wanted to do, the kind of connect that you would have onto the street with a common user, someone who's walking past, and then come into a space which is extraordinarily intricate but opens itself to the sky, which you don't expect when you walk into a house which looks extremely monolithic from the outside, but when you come in, it has a life of its own.